Thank you for joining us on All for the Dream, where we dive into the reality of what it takes to go after a dream. All of the sweat, all of the tears, all of the sacrifice. And at the end of the day, it isn't easy. But is it worth it? I'm your host, Nakesha Wrights, and remember, no dream is too big. Thank you for joining me on All for the Dream. I am your host, Nakesha Wrights, and today we have the world-renowned artist, Larry Poncho Brown, with us. Thank you so much for joining.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Good. We're going to get right into your questions.
Okay.
What that mean?
Oh, here we
like,
go.
Okay.
She got the open question cards.
Look, I should guys. Then I feel like I just want to give you like a fake throwaway question because we was talking about some stuff, but we know we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do it. So, first question.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you really know that you were a legit artist? Like your work was dope, worth sharing with the world?
Wow, I probably didn't realize that till I would say junior high school. Because I had an art teacher named David Humphreys who stayed in my butt. I was a class clown, so I would be playing, or I would finish my work and be playing, or finish my work and be drawing on my paper. So he started making me do stuff in the class. So I think when I started seeing a reaction of teachers and students, it's when I said, maybe I got something. I'm not sure, but it was junior high school.
Junior high school. So what would you consider your style of art?
My style of art, it's hard for me to answer that because my work is figurative, but I'm a graphic designer by trade, so there's a lot of graphic stuff that goes into what I do. I kind of fuse graphic design and fine art together.
Okay.
So I use a lot of mediums that I did when I was a sign painter. I was actually trained as a sign painter.
Okay.
I use those techniques when I'm doing my paintings too. So even how I build my studies and my sketches and stuff is very graphic in an approach. So my work is very graphic. I guess when other artists describe my work, they say it's graphic.
So did you enjoy actually doing the painting? Do you enjoy doing the painting or you enjoy doing the graphic more?
I probably don't like, I didn't like graphic design and sign painting. I hated sign painting, but I was really good at it. So I went to a vocational high school that taught me how to letter. That program was a 3-year program. We were supposed to study first year, second year, third year, we get work study. I learned it in 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So I was one of the first 10th graders. He had to ask whether we should send this kid to work study. Luckily, they took the chance and sent me because I was a real knucklehead then. But it changed my life because I got my first job when I was 14, painting signs. And I was very proficient at it. And that paved my way through college. It gave me, where guys was hustling drugs in Baltimore, I was able to hustle signs. So I always had a hustle that kept me off the street, and making money wasn't like a central focus, but you know, when you go to vocational school, you learn practical application trades. So that's their approach. My sister also studied cosmetology. So, and I'm second generation. My dad had me when he was 17, but he also took commercial art, but he ended up going into printing. So I was very familiar with printing and commercial art at the same time because I was printing business cards at my house when I was 12 years old for extra money. So the notion of making money was foreign because I was around entrepreneurs most of my life. Okay.
And see, now I'm kind of new to the art world. Like, you know, I've seen art, but this right now working with Kilo, it's like more, I'm seeing more artwork, and he's like explaining stuff and showing me stuff. So, you know, it wasn't really my area. So when you said painting signs, you literally meant like signs outside for somebody's shop?
Exactly. That used to be done all by hand.
Oh, wow. Like on the windows and everything?
Windows, trucks, billboards, you name it. It was done by hand.
Wow.
And so this is before systems started cutting it out, like you see a lot of things down to the plotter base. This is pre-graphic Gerber. So I learned how to do it the traditional way.
Wow.
The old-fashioned way. So, yeah, that was kind of a big turn for me. And then when the Gerber system started coming in, the mechanical type starts being cut out of film and all that kind of stuff, I was kind of scared because my business was running out. But at the same time, because I was still tied into Baltimore, a lot of the people who were doing commercials and doing movies would call me to do sets because the vinyl lettering at that time was too stagnant for camera. So I made that transition and started doing that kind of work. So
okay. Do you have a favorite piece?
I don't have a favorite piece, but I have pieces that are significant because they took me another direction.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I have a piece called Black is Black, which I would say has to be my favorite because it was the piece that people told me would never sell, and then it became one of the top 10 bestsellers in the country. So, you know, that's a redemption kind of piece. You know what I'm saying?
Prove
but I have
wrong.
other pieces that took me into another stylization because you have artists that are multidisciplinary, and you have artists that do one style, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist. And my stuff looks different. If you don't follow my name, you probably get lost. And so I have pieces that were pivotal where I went a different direction. But other than that, I don't really have many favorites.
Okay.
And I have too much work to have favorites.
Well, that's good that you got too much work.
Yeah, I got a lot of work.
So now you told me that you have been helping other artists behind the scenes, helping them learn how to stream and do live so that they can help show their art to the world. So why do you feel like it's necessary to give back to up and coming artists?
When I was in high school and I left or graduated, I was one of the first students out of his students to ever go to an art school. So I went to the Maryland Institute, which was a big deal at that time because, number one, I didn't want to go to college. Number two, he told me that I would never be able to do the kind of art I wanted to do. His exact words to me was that white people will never let you do the kind of art you want to do. So let me show you how to paint signs and you'll always make a living. So in my brain, I was going to graduate. I was going to open me up a little garage. I was going to paint signs and live happily ever after. But the trajectory to go to college really changed things for me. And so, but one thing he made me do, and I can't say he made me do it because my father was also very mentor oriented. He would take all the bad guys in the neighborhood, because he was an athletic guy. He would pull them all into that one neighborhood. If they was beefing in this part of the city and that part of the city, he would have these box offs where he would have these guys doing functional stuff. So he always was mentoring city kids to do athletics. And so by the time I got to college, he wanted me to come back every year and speak to the students and teach them what I had been learning in college. So from the time I left high school, I was coming back and talking to 15, 20 kids every year, which kind of has always been a platform of mine, of mentorship. So even to this day, I've mentored literally hundreds of artists, not just artists that are on my level, but even I have professional artists that we have some level of mentorship with. So I think that's just an important piece, and I don't know where I would be if certain people didn't take the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and when I was coming up, there weren't a lot of people in place to help me.
And
so that's another side of it.
Not a lot of people are willing to help as well.
Yeah, willing or just help, period.
Yeah.
You know, so that also was another reason why mentorship was important to me, because I was like, I don't want people to have to go through all the stuff I had to go through to do what I'm doing. You know?
So have you done collaborations with other artists?
I think when you're in a mentorship situation, you're automatically doing some level of collaboration. But in my industry, African American artists have been doing full-fledged collaborations where Charles Bibbs is like my big brother, one of my best friends in the arts. He'll do a piece and he'll send it to me, and I'll do a little something on it and send it back to him, and we kind of just play with it for a minute, and then when it's done, we publish it and produce it. Well, that's happening readily through the African American art market. We have all kinds of mashups with different artists that are doing stuff. So I may have collaborated with upwards of 15 artists. The funniest one I'm working on now, I got from Cynthia St. James in 1996, and I haven't finished it yet.
Oh, wow. She done gave up on you.
Yeah, she has gave up on me. But I'm gonna, just when she's getting ready to go on the ground, go bam! Let's finish. You know, so yeah, the collaboration thing is really big and it's really hot in the African American art market. I actually have worked on the first 3 artist collaboration that was ever published. It's me, LaShawn Beal, and Leroy Campbell. So yeah, so I've done a lot of those. But me and Charles Bibbs probably have done the most together. We've probably done 15 or 20 of them.
Okay, that's pretty neat though. So what do you have coming up?
Coming up, I'm working on what I call my legacy project, partnering with Rashid Kilo Pugh to do The Golden Age of African American Art, which really talks about a period between 1985 and 2005, when artists became mainstream, where they got opportunities, where there was an actual market to develop. And it talks about that period of time because it came and it went, and then the economy and 9/11 and all that stuff made the art business go through a real kind of seismic upheaval. And so people never really had a chance to document the movement. And so what we're doing now is we're working on this project for 2 years. I started filming in October of 18, and we have probably about 31 interviews done. And now we're beginning to take the time to edit that down so we can do a episodic version of it.
So were the people, when you reached back out, were they willing to participate in it, and were they excited about it?
I would say 98% of the people I asked were on, and the other 2% either didn't want to associate themselves with that movement anymore, or just had different interests, which I respect all artists' trajectories and roads, because we got a lot of different ways to get to a destination. And some people don't like talking about the past.
This is true.
But for me, that history is so important because of the things we see happening in the arts would not be happening if it were not for that pivotal moment, you know. And so I thought about it. Most of my friends are 15 to 20 years older than me. And they embraced me when I came into the business. So I feel like I have an obligation to kind of document that history if I can.
So how do you feel about the state of art right now?
I mean, right now, I'm going to tell you like this, dog. If you're an artist and you can't succeed now, something wrong with you. It's that simple. We have technology on our side like never before. You got ways to show your work, you got ways to distribute your work, you got ways to produce your work. All the equipment to do the things we used to have to do, you can afford to do. You can buy, you can afford cameras now. You have your own studio. You can have your own computer system that will help you do all types of imaging. So for me, it's like this is a dynamite time to be an artist, despite the current climate we're in with the pandemic and with all of the racial tensions and all of the political scenes. Really, people are so distracted that they don't realize how wide the playing field is right now. It is literally an open playing field with nobody in the way, you know. And so now I'm like, this is the highest I've been creatively probably for the last 20 years. I've made more money during COVID than I was making the year prior to it because people are home now. My demographic is still working, you know, so my people are not in line trying to get bags of food. My people are the ones that are working from home, teleworking. Their children are schooling. And so they're sitting home for the first time because they couldn't enjoy their place when the wife was zipping and zapping, he was zipping and zapping, children were doing their own thing, and now all of a sudden, home is the central point. So people are fixing up their yards, they're fixing up their garden, they're growing vegetables and painting rooms and fixing stuff, and they're going, oh, yo, I don't have anything on the walls. So I'm just kind of maximizing that period because I don't think that period is going to come back again. This time is really designed for, and all of the creative people right now are on a particular vibration because we have some we can levitate to keep us busy where some people don't. So, you know, domestic violence is going up because couples are home for the first time. Depression rates are high because the entitled kids have been told no in a big way. And so many other things are happening to kind of reset stuff. But as artists, man, I've been watching Facebook and the projects that people are doing. Everybody's being a little more creative than they have been because they've been able to sit still for a while and the world came to like a slowdown. And this is the first time I can recall being off the treadmill in 40 years of me being a full-time artist.
It was like a good break though. I know I had to be out of work for 10 weeks and I was like, oh, I don't want to go back. But, you know.
I think it's going to really alter everybody if they can get past the fear of what's happening and the fear of what could happen. You know, the bottom line now is that this time is designed for us to reset anyway. And we have to repurge and redesign and reset and reevaluate. And this has been the perfect time for that. I mean, I'm watching more positive things than negative. Just keep your TV turned off for a minute.
Have you ever felt like giving up?
Oh, absolutely. I felt like giving up more than once. The first pivotal moment was in 1995. I had a studio fire where I lost a 5,000 square foot studio.
Wow.
And I had been investing, got into the art business, things were going well. I was just beginning to see a return on all the money that's been invested, the time that's been invested. And boom, overnight, lost the place, wrong insurance. Really had to start over. So that was a low point. Thought about suicide, thought about a bunch of other things during that period of time because I've lost, I said twins, 86. So you go to different things that's going to test you. Yeah. Diagnosed with cancer in 2015. But that's not stopping me from doing what I need to do. I think God gives you a path. Some people know their purpose in life, and some people don't. And some people are staring it in the face but won't acknowledge it. Yeah. I'm not that one. I've always got it, and I just kind of get out the way. Mm-hmm. And so it feeds me spiritually in a different way. So all I can say is if you want to do it, do it. I've had my ups, I've had my lows, I've had my financial periods where I was making millions of dollars. I had periods where I was making no money. You just kind of find yourself in the middle and know, okay, I've been to both extremes now. Mm-hmm. And you reach a point where you go, what do I need and what do I want? It's the difference between need and want. You know what I'm saying? My kids are grown. My son is 30. My daughter's 34. So there's so many things that I don't have to consider at this point in my life. Okay. So it's an exciting time. And just being able to partner with people like Rasheen and partnering with other people to do projects right now is probably what I'm most excited about, because now I'm learning how to pool my resources and trust, because I'm so used to doing everything myself, but entrusting my abilities with other people's abilities. And so that's the kind of new page I want now. So yeah, I've had lots of lows.
I ain't had that $1 million extreme. I'm trying to.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's one of those things you got to kind of be in that vibe to understand what it is. You find that all the happiness you think is going to happen is not there all the time either.
It's not always.
And it's a difference between having earning $1 million and having $1 million in your bank account. Mm-hmm. It's all kinds of extremes. You just got to figure which one's most important to you. Okay. It's just a number.
Oh yeah, it's a good number.
The average American handles $1 million in their lifetime. It's relative, spread out.
So what advice, because we just gonna keep going on past that. What advice would you give an artist right now that is feeling like giving up?
Stop being a punk. That it's not gonna happen for you overnight.
Yes.
That if you shoot for fame, you're gonna fall. You gotta practice. Because everybody's got this false sense of how good they are, because everything's at their access. Yeah. You gotta be willing to learn some more. I mean, here I am, almost 60 years old, and I'm still fed by learning. I think when you have that mindset, you stay young too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I tell young artists is that no, if you're not working, I used to speak at, and still do speak at, high school and college portfolios, reviews at the colleges. So I get to see what kids are doing currently, and I could flip through their book and it's like a psychic reading. I can tell them what their room looked like from looking at their portfolio. I can tell them what their attention span looked like. I can look through their sketchbooks and see what their level of completion is, how hard they work. You can go on the computer and do the shiniest shit ever, and I can look through that and go, okay, you can't draw. You're playing with software.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just tell the kids now, look, you got to work. And I know I sound like an old timer with that, but when I was coming through, it was the very best of the very best in this business. So you learn from the very best, and you were looking over to your left and your right, and everybody was doing their best. So it raises you to another bar. I think right now, if you want to see the very best in African American art or art period, look on Facebook. If you want to see the very worst of art, look on Facebook, because everything's a hodgepodge of everything now. Okay, but you have to have an eye of discernment to know what is and what ain't and what you're shooting for. A lot of artists now get complacent with where they are, and they're not looking at what the next level is going to be. They're also expecting a shortcut. See, you get something from the process of repetition, adding something to repetition. You don't get something from painting this year and do another painting next year. No, I do 120 paintings in a year. So I'm still growing at a rate faster than the average person. You know, when I ask artists, I ask them 2 questions. How many pieces did you complete this year? And they go,
Not if you can count on one hand.
Some of them throw out 12, but you know they lying already. Because they're going to round up because I asked them the question. All right? And then when they settle on 10, I'm like, what you do the other 2 months? So you think you can survive off of doing 1 piece a month for a year? Tell me another business that can survive that way. So they only have a relative even view of how much work they should be doing. You know? So it's a tough time because everybody's gotten lazy and everybody's resorting to the digital formats and this, that, and the other. But underneath all that stuff is a certain knowledge base that you have to try to improve if you are a creative person. I think you should be striving to always improve. And when you lose that, I think it's pretty much over. Your work stays the same. If you look at your portfolio and it's 5 years ago, and you look at your portfolio 5 years ago and it looks the same, where were you?
This is true.
Did you go into the freezer and get stuck?
You need a defrost.
Exactly, because it should be some sort of growth somewhere, and you only get that through repetition. So that's if I had to say with the artist, no, you gotta whatever you think you're doing now, double it. Double it.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions I got for you.
Well, I hope I answered them for you.
You did. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you?
I can be found at theartofponcho.com and larryponchobrown.net. I'm on all the socials. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Pinterest. I'm on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. All of them are under Larry Poncho Brown or The Art of Poncho. So I'm pretty easy to find. I'm even in Wikipedia, y'all.
I had to look at all 3 cameras on that one. But thank you so much again for joining us. And thank you all for joining us on All for the Dream. I am your host, Nakesha Wrights.
Say the Arts TV, let's go.